again. Okay, so hey everybody. So I didn't want to overwhelm you and do 2 videos in one day and make you watch, I don't know, at least an hour worth of content. It just seemed ridiculous considering school's just starting, and like, let's just slow our roll. There's no need to rush, right? And there goes my dog barking again. Okay, so this is just going to talk about 3 different things: what's literature, what's world lit, and then we're going to start talking about Genesis. The reason I try to talk about the readings that you have to do is because sometimes there's some gray area. I don't think that there's going to be with this particular reading, but you know what? Tomato, tomato, you never know. Okay, so we're going to start off first with defining what literature is. Okay, so think about it for the next 3 seconds because I'm impatient. What do you think literature is? Do you think immediately of William Shakespeare, like most people? Do you think of perhaps Tupac? Do you think Meek Mills? Do you think Roddy Ricch? Is that his name? Yes. Roddy Ricch. The Box, right? Yes. I swear I'm up on my shit. I swear. I follow the Shade Room. I should be up on this. Anybody with Kanye, I can't stand him. Sorry. I don't know. It just irks my soul. Anyway, I probably just lost a lot of friends. Okay, so do you think of those particular singers or rappers when you think of literature? What do you think of? What comes to mind? I'm going to just pull something up real fast. Where's my desktop? Oh, okay. Share, here it is. All right, so you guys should be able to see this. Okay, so Merriam-Webster. I probably shouldn't have to look things up, but I do because sometimes we're all visual learners. So literature, we're going to start with here. Writings in prose or verse. So the verse could be Meek Mills, Dreams and Nightmares, Roddy Ricch. It could be Simon and Garfunkel, Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin, any country music that I'm 90% sure nobody listens to, except for me. Let's think. Classical doesn't have words, so there's that. Okay, then we can go to number 2, production of literary work, especially as an occupation, which means that somebody's a writer. They're an author. So any type of book is going to be a piece of literature. Musical compositions, see? Okay. Then it also say printed matter, such as leaflets or circulars. So whenever you get a brochure from someone or somewhere, okay, there's also body of written works, printed matter, okay, example of such writings. So we're going to move on. Lucy, come. Okay, so now I'm going to show you something else. Just got to give me a minute, okay? Now, this is usually something that we do in class, but obviously we're not in a face-to-face setting, so we're going to skip a few things. So, a children's book, Where the Wild Things Are. This is a very famous children's book, along with like Giving Tree. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. I'm totally blanking. I hate pregnancy brain. Any Dr. Seuss book. These are all forms of literature. Okay, all children's books can be seen as a form of literature. Okay, how about a magazine ad? It has words, right? I read it. I'm looking at it. Okay, it gives a message. It sends something to me. It's telling me something that's informative. So yes, it's literature. Okay, how about a comic strip? Same thing, right? Has words, private. I don't know the meaning of the word. There's some irony there. So a comic can be a form of literature as well. Here we are, Simon and Garfunkel, Hello Dark and Smile Friend, okay? This would also be creeping, sleeping, again, and brain are supposed to rhyme, but they don't. So it would be brain and remains. Okay, so there is a rhyme scheme there. Then we can move on to the Fifth Symphony, which again, we said that classical music doesn't necessarily have words. However, it's literature because it has to be read, which is interesting, okay? And then of course, lastly, a photograph. So is any type of work of art, a photograph or a painting, or anything in between, would that also count as literature? Yes, it would. That does not mean that's what you're handing in for any assignments. Okay, so now, what's world lit? I know, so fun, right? So world lit, quite in a nutshell, I guess, is exactly how it sounds. It's literature from around the world. I know, crazy shit, right? However, we are going to focus particularly on about, I'm going to say like 1100 BCE to, what's it called? 1700 BC, sorry, or AD rather. I could not think at all. My pregnancy brain is real, guys. Okay, so that's the time period that we're working in with all of these works. If you had decided to take 208, you would have had 18th century to now, which is cool, but that's still also a lot of ground to cover. So regardless, you're kind of stuck. And of course, I mean that in the nicest way. I mean, you're stuck with me, so like that's pretty cool because I'm pretty cool. I'm just kidding. All right, so I'm gonna share this with you guys. Okay, this is World Lit. Okay, so overview of lit through the ages. Yay! I did not make this because I'm lazy. Just kidding. I was just assigned this class like 4 days ago. Anyway, okay, so we're gonna go through it because why not? So, letter, knowledge of books, refers to the sum and total of world's national literatures. I know, awesome, right? Nobody cares. Moving on. Okay, so literature, history, and culture, they all work together in like kind of a vicious circle. So you can't really have one without the other, and one doesn't evolve without the other evolving, and so on and so forth. So you think that like something of Roddy Riches would have survived back in the day, like of Shakespeare? Probably not. They probably would have been like, you're crazy and you're going to an asylum. Okay, they would not, because of the history of the time and the culture of the time, it would not have worked. So much like this quote says, the relationship is reciprocal, okay? All right, next one. So here are the periods. Classical, which is where we're starting, 1200 BCE to 455 CE. Medieval, 455 to 1485. And then the Renaissance, which you are most familiar with Shakespeare, okay? So classical period is the golden age for literature and arts. This is, think Plato, Sophocles, Homer, Aristotle, okay? So, shit, look at that. So Iliad and Odyssey, which obviously we're going to be reading the Odyssey, okay? Works and Days by Hesiod, and then Theogony, okay? We also have Plato. Oh, look at this shit. And Euripides, and we're going to be reading Medea, which he wrote. What? I just want the, stop. Computer. Okay, I know I go quickly, but I don't know. Okay, so medieval period, Anglo-Saxon. All right, so Canterbury Tales, which are very famous. I will admit I've never had to read them, and honestly, I don't want to. I know that sounds horrible, but it's just never sparked my interest. Okay. So Dark Ages, the Bards, the Dream of the Holy Rood, and then of course Beowulf, which we are going to be reading. So we're hitting so far 2 of our time periods. All right, and then of course there's Chaucer, Thomas Aquinas, Martin Luther, and then Cadmon. Okay, so keeping going. An elegy, a religious liturgy, and a narrative romance are the 3 typical genres that you would find during this period. We are not going to go over what those particularly are. Reason being, we're reading Beowulf. It's an epic poem. It is not any of these. It's a poem. It is meant to be looked at as an epic poem. I know it's odd. Okay, so Renaissance period. The Middle Age and the modern era. It is what we are most familiar with when we think of literature. And look, there's my homeboy, William Shakespeare. Good dude. Okay, so Romeo and Juliet, Utopia, The Fairy Queen, and When I Was Fair and Young. All right, we'll keep it rolling. We have Sir Thomas More, Queen Elizabeth I, Edmund Spenser, and then these are later periods. So we would focus more on Enlightenment and Romantic period beginnings. And then after that, Victorian, Modern, and Postmodern are your English 208. Okay. However, they do still, you know, it's still good to know. We're just going to kind of go rapid fire through this. So here's the Enlightenment. Elegy written in the churchyard, Rights of Man, Rake of the Lock, and All for Love. Okay, so you might have heard of Thomas Paine or Alexander Pope, possibly John Dryden, but I don't think Thomas Gray. The essay, letters, fables, melodrama. Who doesn't love it? So fables, we're going to be talking about fables, Aesop's fables, but this is before the Enlightenment period. Okay, so fables, when you think of them, are oral tradition stories. Okay, letters, because that's how we started to communicate with one another. Then we move on to the Romantic period. This is a great time for our novels to start to build. But again, we're really not hitting the Romantic period because that hits the end of the 18th century rather. Okay, so I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, Kubla Khan, Song of Innocence and Experience, and then Matilda. William Wordsworth, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, he's pretty cool in terms of he smoked a lot of dope. He did a lot of oxy, and that's when he did all of his writings. So like he's an odd dude, but he's also kind of cool. Like, I don't know many people that can pull that shit off. Anyway, then there's Mary Shelley, who you are familiar with writing Frankenstein. Okay? And that's why I got fired today. Okay, then you move on to the Victorian period. We don't have to talk about this because this is something that you will discuss more if you took 208. So postmodern lit is lit. That's how I feel. Okay, let's have a little quiz. We're not doing that. So that's the difference between lit and world lit. I know it's the same thing. And I know you're probably just like, you have me on mute or something and you're watching Netflix. I have no idea. But honestly, I would be. But we didn't have Netflix when I was in college. Yeah, we were good with cable. We had 10 channels. Good times. Okay, so anyway, the other thing that I wanted to discuss was Genesis. So, as most of us know, or maybe some of us know, I don't know, I will tell you straight off the bat, I am not a religious person. So, that being, I had to scrounge for my Bible because I have not seen it in many a year. In fact, I couldn't find mine. I had to find my son's from his baptism. Thankfully, he wasn't using it. You know, he can't read. So anyway, I do want to just say that, so I try not to get too into religious things or political things. So just be aware that they're not topics that I am well versed with. Okay. However, Genesis is very straightforward. It says that God created the world in 7 days. Technically 6, and then he rested on the 7th day. Okay, and then he decides to create Adam. He builds Adam out of the clay, out of the sand, out of the dirt, and then he starts to give Adam these items, which we now know as trees, birds, the sea, animals, and as Adam would name them, God would say that's its name. Okay, so for whatever reason, a snake. Why? Why do we need snakes? We don't need snakes. We could do without snakes. Like, was it necessary? No. Did you have to invent spiders? No. Mosquitoes? I mean, really, they're not helping me. So I digress. Anyway, like, screw you, Adam. Mosquito. Anyway, sorry. Okay, so God then said, you know what? I should create a companion for you, because how are we going to go forth and multiply if you have no one to do such a thing with? Hence, we get Eve. Eve is then created from the rib of Adam. Kind of weird, but okay. I mean, you know, things happen, I guess, right? And then, of course, we have our wonderful snake. Yeah, the snake, because he's a snake. It's gross, it's slimy. Sorry for people that like snakes. I don't like snakes. He whispers in Eve's ear one day, you know, I know that God told you not to eat from that particular tree and that all the other trees are totally cool, but that tree that's off limit, you should totally go for it. And he doesn't want you to eat from it because then you'll know everything just like him. So my assumption, my interpretation is that when I tell my 5-year-old, don't do that, he immediately feels I need to do whatever she just said not to do. I have to do it, must do. On my to-do list, must check it off. Have to do the thing she told me not to do because obviously we're almost programmed to want to do the things that we are told not to do, right? I mean, I can't really think of any great examples, but my son, don't climb on the counter. What does he do? Climbs on the counter. Don't pick up that piece of glass that shattered from our shed. What does he do? He picks up that piece of glass. And then what happens? He gets cut. And he's like, well, why did I get cut? Because you picked up the damn piece of glass like I told you not to. Okay, so we have these things set in place for reasons. However, Eve was like, I get you, snake. I see you. Let's do it. And she decides that she wants to know everything. And maybe this is part of the downfall of women is that we do feel we know everything. And I say that 100% knowing that I do this. Women do think that we know a lot. I know that. It's okay. It's just a flaw. It's fine. But she eats from the forbidden, or she eats the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge. Okay, and God then descends and he's like, I told you not to eat that. Okay, so now he's essentially like reprimanding his children. And because she ate this apple, right, he then punishes Adam and Eve. But they get separate punishments. So one sole punishment is set to Eve. And it's that you will have painful childbirth. Thanks a lot, Eve. But then again, you know, back in the day, they didn't do C-sections and medicine and all that. So like, I don't know, better, worse now? Who knows? Okay, so that's the punishment to Eve. However, the punishment to Adam is you are going to have to work harder to, you know, reap the benefits of what you're sowing. It's going to take you longer. It's going to be hard work. You are going to suffer. There is nothing is going to come easy for you as it once did before she ate the fruit. So he punishes them both, even though it was really just Eve that did the actual act of sin. And this is now where sin comes from. However, at this point, when the two of them, Adam and Eve, have a child, okay, when they have Cain and Abel and then eventually Seth, those children, those 3 boys, are then born with the original sin that Adam and Eve were not born with, because they were not born, they were created. So they were not created with original sin until Eve ate that apple, okay? So that's Genesis 1 through 3. In a very brief nutshell, I know that I'm probably hitting some areas that are wrong. I read it like 2 days ago, so it's still semi-fresh in my head. But, you know, shit happens, and then I forget things and mix it up. So anyway, make sure you read those 3. They're super short, super easy to read, very straightforward. If you have questions, send them in. If you don't, awesome. Next week, remember, you're reading Genesis 4 and Tale of Two Brothers. You'll see how that's going to play, you know, a relationship together. Other than that, I think I have nothing for now. You have your assignment for this week, which is due on Friday, which is to tell me about yourself. And then you have the question that's in the weekly email about the reading list. You simply need to answer that, do the assignment that's due Friday, and then you were here for class. Done. Simple, right? Once you read Genesis 4 and Tale of Two Brothers, you will have an actual assignment. But I will talk about, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. So that video will come next week, okay? The rubric is available if you do want to get started on it before I tell you about it. That's totally up to you. Our Moodle page will be finished. I will be finished setting it up by the weekend. The grade book will be up, and all of the assignments will have their weighted grades. Blech, weighted grades. I can talk, I promise. I think that's it. I know I say I'm a lot, or at least I just realized it. So I will talk to you guys later. I hope you have a good rest of your first week of classes. Shit. That's about it. That's all I got. So I will talk to you guys another time. Have a good rest of your day. Bye, guys.